Hello, everyone. This is Zander, the host of A Piece of Our Minds. I just wanted to record a little briefing before the beginning of this episode, just to say a few quick things about this. So, as you probably noticed from the title, this is the first special edition of A Piece of Our Minds. So basically, what that means is, Aaron got a little tied up this weekend, so only Harley and I were able to record this session. So we made the best of the situation and just said, okay, we're going to talk about our novels a little bit. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. We go in depth into the two novels that Harley and I are working on, about the characters and the plot and where we're kind of hoping to go with these ideas. So that's the first thing I want to say. Second thing I want to say is that some of the topics and themes in Harley's novel, particularly, are a bit darker than the tone that we're usually used to on this show, which is perfectly fine. But I did want to mention it just in case anyone's uncomfortable with topics that might be a little bit harder to talk about. So yeah, just viewer discretion advised. And lastly, the audio is a little bit weird on this one. The Zoom call we were recording on, just it kept messing up. Something was wrong with one of our Wi-Fi's. So just keep that in mind. But I still really hope you guys enjoy this episode. We had a lot of fun recording it. It was great to really dive deeper into these stories that we've been crafting for so long. And yeah, we really hope that you guys enjoy the first special edition of A Piece of Our Minds. Please enjoy. Okay. After we just got a bunch of technical difficulties settled. No, that was fun. I'm definitely in the mood to talk about things.
We're definitely in the mood to talk about it now.
Yeah, especially since this is going to be an interesting episode. Because welcome, first of all, to A Piece of Our Minds. I gotta introduce it. It's a podcast about three amateur artists, creators going through their creative processes together. It's me. My name is Zander. I'm the kinda host, and today I am only joined by my friend Harley.
Yes, that is me.
Yes, because Aaron was unavailable to record, which is sad.
Yeah.
But we are going to make the best with this situation because I know me and Harley were like teasing a little bit about doing an episode where we went more in depth into the novels that we're actually writing, like so that people would understand what we're talking about. So I was thinking today we could do like special episodes here and there. Yeah.
Of us just going in depth on like stuff we've done in the novels.
Yeah. So today could be the first initial setup of that. And also, I know the last few have been very, very long, so maybe this will be a nice little break from
just A Piece of Our Minds, episode 5.1.
Yeah. I was gonna call it like I need to come up with a title for this episode because I was like I'm just gonna call it like special instead of like giving it a number, and then I don't know.
Inside the Novel, part 1.
I do. Okay, I'm actually legit going to write that down. This is exactly why everyone tuned in today.
I pride myself on my ability to come up with titles.
Yeah, I knew I had you here for a reason.
This is the only reason I am here.
This is the only reason.
I make titles.
that my defining character trait. Harley's defining character trait.
Titles.
Oh,
It's gonna be my job. I'm gonna move to Hollywood. My
it's
only job is gonna be
writing.
making titles.
That would be such a fun job though, because
Yeah, it was. They didn't give me a script and I read it. I'm just like, hmm.
no, it's no, because I literally like spent so long brainstorming the title for Fat Xander 3, which I don't think
I,
I'm gonna
I took
reveal yet, but
I took like 3 minutes brainstorming the title for my novel.
but did you tell me what the title was?
Yeah, Twisted Wolf.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess on that note, Harley, do you want to just give like a brief, like not even brief, like as in depth as you want about like Twisted Wolf and like what the gist of it is, what you're going for, like what the basic
Yes.
like plot might be, what you've done so far.
Yes. Yes. So, Twisted Wolf, we talked about it before a little bit. It's going to be science fiction, kind of uh, like a darker tone, kind of gritty. I'm hoping. I'm still getting used. I'm getting used. I'm still getting into like developing my writing anyway. But so main character is Lane, and he is a. Oh, did I make him? I think I made him 22. I think he's 22 years old,
Mhm.
and this is when I'm going to start getting into like the actual like powers or whatever. So Lane has this spirit inside of him,
Mhm.
and this spirit, what I'm going to do with it. So originally I was just going to go with he's the only person in the world with this, but then I was like, do I really want to do that? Because then I could like expand this to like multiple, just not this one thing,
Mhm.
this one novel. If I wanted to write more,
Oh, you like an
and
expanded
so
universe, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so after I changed that, I decided to make it so there is hundreds, if not thousands, of these spirits all over the world,
Mhm.
and I had to figure out a way to explain why there are hundreds of these spirits. And then it came to me just suddenly. I'm like, so berserkers from Norse mythology,
Okay.
they are this insane group of warriors who, if the conditions are right, they berserk and
There
they
you
just
go. Yeah.
basically go. The berserkers are what the word berserk comes from. And
Oh.
so the berserkers are just they just fly into a rage and they go and they just destroy anything in their path, and they're just the ultimate soldier, and they don't feel pain, anything like that, and they're just full of rage and they just kill. So when I was originally thinking about, because that's basically all Lane's like power. I just use air quotes again. Air quote power is where he just transforms into a hulking monstrosity and
Mhm.
just kills anything.
Mhm. And so that's what
And
spirits do.
yes, so the berserker spirits are all over the world. Of course, I'm going to make them. So they originally were from uh, Sweden, Finland, Scandinavia,
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever. And so it originated from the Vikings,
Mhm.
the Norse mythology. And so, of course, things traveled all over the world and whatever. And they
Mhm.
just messed up a bunch of shit. Oh, sorry. But
I can read.
so I was thinking, oh yeah, or just if he feels extreme pain, fear, rage, anger, if he feels like any like extreme, like any like super extreme thing like that,
Mhm.
he just loses all control and the berserker spirit takes over.
Mhm.
And so I'm coming at it with like kind of a somewhat body horror, but it's going to be pretty mild body horror. I'm not going to go in depth and like everything, but it's going to be dark and it's going to like because like when this happens, he just it's super. It's gonna be like him like growing extra muscles and limbs and just bones and everything.
Yeah, you said it was. You
And
said
and he's
you told me it was a little bit like Venom, right? Like, yeah.
kinda, but like instead of like a creature like coming out from inside of him, it's basically building more off of him. It's not like like a different entity. It's him,
Okay.
but just growing. And so like these new muscles and limbs and bones and claws and hands, these aren't gonna be able to be held in by skin
Okay.
because he's not gonna grow any more. He's not gonna grow any new skin,
Mhm, mhm,
and so like it's just bare muscle
mhm,
and
mhm.
bone
Okay.
and
Okay.
blood, and
Just
so
kind of.
like that's kind of where like I'm gonna go in depth because if I do, it'd be gross. Like I'm gonna make it like this isn't a fun thing to go through,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like it's painful and it's scary,
Mhm, mhm,
and like that's a main contributing factor for Lane
mhm,
in his struggle with it is that he is terrified of it.
mhm,
And so yeah, these berserker spirits are just all over the world,
mhm.
and but I'm making it so Lane is a special case because like most of the berserker spirits, if people realize that they have them, they would have moved to the north where it was cold, south where it was warmer. And so like moved to like Canada, Scandinavia, back to Scandinavia, or they would have went to like the tips of South America, and
Oh yeah.
they would have they would have tried to be where it was cold because that's where they are most comfortable.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they don't like heat, but Lane is a special case,
Mhm.
and I haven't like figured out all of it yet. I'm looking into more different mythologies as I'm going with it because I'm like, I can just develop the story as I go on and like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lore.
Mhm,
And so the difference with Lane is that he hates the cold and he's ultra sensitive to it.
mhm.
And so I have to try and I'm figuring out why that is
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
because like their spirit loves cold and they love the wilderness, and Lane's just like I want to stay in Texas
Yeah.
and stay where it's warm. Yeah, so Lane is an extremely special case with other berserker spirits because he is he's going to be the biggest like transformation of any berserker spirit,
Mhm,
and I'll get in a little bit into, like how we know that later,
mhm.
but like he is just most of the berserker spirits are like a little bit bigger than a human, so they'd be like 8, 9 feet tall,
Mhm.
maybe 10. But Lane is going to be like 15, 16 feet tall. And
Oh,
he's going to be
okay.
just
Okay.
huge and just this hulking mass.
Mhm,
And so I was thinking, I'm like, what can I make to, because like I'm gonna have enemies besides just Lane's own personal struggle with his power.
mhm, mhm.
And so I was thinking, I'm like, they're obviously going to be an organization that just have them, and they're also an organization that would want to control the destructive power of the berserker spirits.
Mhm.
And so I made two different independent organizations. Oh God, where's my notes? I think they're over there. Oh no. uh, but one of the groups, my notes are over there. I don't want to go up and get them, but one of the groups is just like an elite group of basically assassins,
Okay.
and they're specially trained and they're like uh, artificially augmented. They just want to kill them because they want to save the world from these uh, just basically uh, rage fueled monsters that just kill everything.
Mhm.
And so they're trying to protect the world from power, and so they just kill them, which is good in some cases where people use it for bad, but then of course there's the other cases like Lane, who just wants to live his life.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lane, uh I'm thinking that they're going to be introduced later than, or no, they're going to be introduced first, but like very vaguely.
Mm-hmm.
And so this group is just, like I said before, artificially augmented to help them beat the berserkers, and they have all these different techniques they can use to kill them. And then this other group is kind of like a government organization,
Okay.
but they're an independent organization.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to research the berserker spirits and help and control them and use them as basically weapons. But they're going to be, yeah, they're going to be, it's going to be pretty obvious, and so I don't think there's any harm in explaining that. Like they're going to be like, we're trying to help you at the beginning, but then of course they're going to try and use it for money and power.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's already pretty obvious because, you know, it's basically a government organization that is just trying to control these weapons.
Uh-huh.
And so this organization has files on hundreds, if not thousands, of berserker spirits, and that's how we learn that Lane is a very, very special case among berserkers.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is like, when he goes into his berserker mode or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he is like 15 feet tall and like has like dozens of limbs, or just sharp, just sharp enough.
Yeah.
And so he is a very special case, and he's also not affected by the same things that affect regular berserkers.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to research and figure out why that is. And I'm also going to have to research and figure out why that is at the same time.
It sounds like you have like a really solid like foundation for at least like the basic rules for like how this like world works, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm wondering, so like with Lane's character, like have you thought about like the sort of like arc or like journey, and like where you kind of like he has like the starting point where he's like learning about this, like, and realizing that this is something that's happening, and like have you thought about like where he's going to end up by the end? And you don't want to like spoil it, like, of course, but
So Lane has been living with this berserker spirit his whole life already, and
okay.
so he's already had multiple episodes, and that's one of the reasons why him and his dad have been moving around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because like he has an incident, and so they need to go because these two organizations are hunting them, and they already know about them. They know about these two organizations, and so they're trying to just stay away so that they don't take Lane and try and kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're moving around a lot, and so Lane, at first, he's just kind of like, what I'm trying to do is make him like, he accepts that it's there, but he doesn't accept that it's part of him.
Okay, so like the arc he's gonna go on is that like he'll eventually like come around to like
He can
accept it.
he can accept it and use it.
Okay.
So like, because like basically right now it's like an Incredible Hulk kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
like Bruce Banner, he accepts that it's there, but he doesn't accept part of him as a person.
And then like by Endgame, like,
And
he's accepted that it's a part of him.
Not accepted that it's a part of him.
Yeah.
So, where is I going with this? He's still, of course, going to struggle with it.
Oh yeah.
Even when he accepts it, just because it's connected to his emotions on such a raw level.
Mm-hmm.
And so
sequels, baby.
Yeah, sequels, baby, because there's an expanded universe
Yeah.
of just hundreds, if not thousands, of berserker spirits that they can try and help. And I'm gonna try. I really want to keep this as like a little twist, so I'm not gonna say it. But like,
Okay, yeah.
well, I'm gonna talk about like his mom, Lane's mom, a little bit. And so this is a little bit of the backstory of Lane. I'm gonna talk about it in the book, but I haven't gotten to that yet. I will, but I haven't. So Lane's mom, she learns that Lane has this berserker spirit at like a very young age, because like of course babies are not very good at controlling their emotions. And so there's going to be multiple times where Lane as a baby is going to be going into his berserker mode and like damaging things, but of course he's a baby, so he doesn't do that much damage, but it's still damage.
He's
And
level
like he injures people like his dad and his mom, but he can't control it. And so Lane's mom goes a little bit crazy.
Okay.
She goes a little bit crazy. And his dad does not know about it. His dad is a very loving father. He loves his wife, but he just doesn't know about this other side of his wife that is slowly losing her mind. All is that his doesn't hate him. She just hates the spirit inside of him. And so he grows to hate the spirit because his mom hates the spirit. And so there's going to be something that happens, and Lane's mom leaves in just like a fit of rage, and she just leaves. And so, of course, he's going to be thinking that like it's his fault. His mom left, and it has to move around dozens of times because of his berserker spirit. So he's going to be depressed, and he's going to be he's going to try and he is going to have multiple suicide attempts of trying to kill himself just to try and get rid of the spirit. But just like the Hulk, he just loses control in the middle of it, and so the berserker spirit saves him from killing himself, just like it saved him from his mother killing him multiple times. And so he struggles with that as well throughout the story. And that's going to be a major key in like his internal struggle. Like I said before, he's just going to be he's going to be struggling with that a lot. Yeah. And his dad knows about it, but he still doesn't know how to help really. Like he tries to, but he still doesn't know how to help. And so that's going to be the struggle for his dad. And Lane's friend Seth, his coworker, he's going to be more of a key later in the story. Later, like middle of the story to the end of the story, he'd be a major component of it. Yeah. And so what I'm really going with is like it's kind of just like a normal adventure story where he's like avoiding these two organizations, trying to like escape them. But it's gonna have a much darker tone than your regular story like that.
Yeah, no, it sounds it sounds a lot like just like a grittier, like more serious, like kind of like teenage, like standard, like fantasy adventure. Like, reality, which sounds very intriguing.
Yeah,
really interested in seeing.
Yeah. Hey, guess I already have. I have one F word in the story, so I'm already like, yeah. So like,
not the F word.
Oh no!
Oh no!
People are gonna be angry.
are being.
And then of course I got the love interest Jackie, but
the car thief.
Yeah, she's only gonna be in it for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Up until like before the middle of the story.
Mm-hmm. I think that's
hopefully
great.
Hopefully I can drag it out a little bit.
No, because the important thing a lot is to think about like those like starting to set up those character arcs and like because like the story what the episode we were going to record today was going to be about story, which will probably come out next week. But like one of the key things about story is like when you're thinking about, because like plot's different than story, so you want to think about like not necessarily like what's going to happen, but like how the characters are going to like what decisions they're going to make and how that's going to affect what happens. It sounds like you have some really solid stuff, especially with like building up like what their past was like and everything.
Yeah,
I think it sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited to keep on developing it because like this is just a very basic start of what I have. And as I keep writing, I know it's going to get more complicated and well, not too complicated, hopefully.
Yeah,
but
I don't want it like convoluted.
Yeah, but yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so how about you?
Yeah, I was trying to think of like a transition, but yes. So now I guess we'll go a little bit into my story and what I've been working on. So I think I mentioned the title a few times, and the title of the story is "No One's Alone at the End of Time," which is wordy on purpose, very much so. So, man, I'm trying to like think of like how to describe this because it's become very like convoluted, I guess, which I know I just said to stay away from, but it's kind of the convolutedness of it is kind of like a framing device for the type of like themes that I'm doing, and it's supposed to be that way. It's just it makes it very hard to explain. So the story it starts out with it's about this teenager. His name is Tom Locke. He's from Earth, and the story starts with like this monologue from like this like otherworldly, like godlike being that you have no idea what it is, you have no idea what they're talking about, and that's just like it starts to set up like that air of like mystery of like what is going on, and like that character like returns a lot and just like talks in the background. But it's just Tom wakes up on this planet, and he doesn't really have like a lot of memories, and it's like really phasey of like what happened recently. And he wakes up and he has this blue crystal just embedded in his chest, and he also is missing his left arm. And he's like, he doesn't know how he's got there. He doesn't know what he's gonna do, so he's just like trying to figure it out as he goes. So along the way, like Tom, he like gets a ship, and there's a big time jump that he's like going on this journey, like trying to figure out what's going on, and there's like a time skip between that. And the way that I frame that is that this omniscient being kind of like loses track of Tom, because it's kind of like he's like kind of narrating it, but Tom's telling it in first person, which is weird. And then it catches back up with Tom like later, and he's very much like ingrained himself into this world, but he's like a little bit like, you can tell that something maybe is a little off, and like throughout he's been like, there's 2 points like in the first 2 like scenes of the story where there's like at the end of the scene it reveals that Tom wasn't exactly saying what was really going on the entire time. And you're like, it's kind of like ambiguous of like, is Tom meaning to do that? Is like something happening? And so basically what the story is about is that something is going wrong with the timeline of this universe. This is going to sound so freaking convoluted. I'm very sorry, but I'm doing my best. No, because so Tom finds out that he's this thing called a horologist, which I looked up, and it's like horology is the study of like clocks and like time, and so I just kind of like said like, oh, that's like time magic, basically. It's like there's time space magic, and that's what all these people with like crystals in their chests are. And there's a whole ton of lore with that I could go into later that I've developed, which I like, but I won't because it's a lot, and I want to keep this like somewhat brief. But the basic thing you need to know is that there's these crystals in their chest that let them control this energy called time, just called time, that like keeps the universe flowing. And the origin of this time is this dimension called the continuum, which exists underneath our plane of like existence. So a horologist can enter the continuum at like any point and like warp throughout to any other point in space or time, but it's very difficult. So like not a lot of people can do it accurately and well, and it's super dangerous because like all the time is trying to like rip you apart like if you enter the continuum, which is great.
Bummer.
Very big bummer. No, so yeah, that's all that. And so basically what's happening is that like Tom runs into this character who's called the Arbiter of Days, who later it's revealed her name is Imera. And so the Arbiter of Days basically like tells Tom that like a lot of the things that have been happening is the time stream. They're calling it anomalies, which is things are like overlapping and like reversing or like fast forwarding and like happening out of order that they're supposed to happen. And so that's going to be a main like gimmick that I'm going to play with. No, so there's going to be like jumps in time, and then like stuff is going to overlap, and I think it's going to be really cool. But again, it's all in practice. Like the main point of that I'm trying to do with this story is just like having fun with it and trying to tell like something that's like really weird and hard to follow, but like you can tell like the story beats.
Yeah, playing with time travel in novels, I think, is particularly difficult.
Yes, that's why.
Because
that's why I introduced the whole like idea that like time is just like falling apart, because that makes it so much. Because then like it's easy that
it's easy to explain that nothing makes sense.
Yeah, like I don't have to deal with continuity a lot. Like I'm trying to figure out like a little bit of continuity. But because there's going to be an event that I haven't got to yet, but I've decided is going to happen, where I meant to mention this. Okay, so Tom realizes that the reason sometime between the last time he remembered Earth and when he woke up, the Earth got completely destroyed, and he remembers that he thinks it's his fault. And also, Tom, a bunch of people, the reason that he runs into the Arbiter of Days is because a bunch of people think that he's what's called the Twilight Horologist, which is a mythical, like, being like a super horologist who's supposed to like do something, and they really don't know. Because that brings me to the next idea that I'm integrating. So the first big idea is like that time is falling apart. And then the next one is that like horology society like has these like customs and like a lot of stuff that like base their ideas on that no one really knows where it came from or what it means or like how to interpret it. So which is where the title actually comes in, because there's a short lyric poem that's called they just refer to it as the Forgotten Verse, and it's trying to remember how it goes. It goes, the battle is lost but the war is won, the fabric of space becomes undone, salvation comes when you finish the climb, no one's alone at the end of time. And so no one knows what that means. But it's been around forever. And so like a lot of it is like so no one's alone at the end of time is like a colloquial phrase that like a bunch of people use that like to just be like, hey man, like we're all in this together, like no one's alone at the end of time, but then like it's also used to like there's this ancient structure called the Omega Gate, which is like a secure entrance into the continuum. It's the Omega Gate, and Omega is the end, so it's literally the end of time. So everyone's like, oh, is that what no one's alone at the end of time means? Or does it mean anything? And that's kind of going to be something that's gonna come into play eventually, of like it's going to be very purposeful if it does have a meaning or not. Okay, and then the third thing that I'm playing with, the third like idea, is ideas of fate and destiny, because the original idea that I had for this was like a story with a like prophecy where like the prophecy is not like inaccurate or like meaningless in like the same way as the Lego movie, I guess. Like how like there was a big prophecy but it didn't mean anything. But it's literally like they're basing like everything off of this, and then like some people are like, well, what if that's not anything? Which is another thing, because like what?
Sorry, just like
it's a lot. And
no, it's really funny because like of how you explain it, it's like purposefully confusing, and I love it.
Yeah, that's the entire point. It's so much fun, but it's really hard to write. Like I am having a great time writing this, but I am 100% certain that I'm like, when I finish the first draft, if I do a second draft, the first draft is going to be garbage. It's going to be incoherent mess. But I'm very
it was really funny because when you were explaining like this, you were just like, I don't know if that's anything, but that's going to be something.
Yeah. Well, like I'm just like,
I'm like,
I keep like
okay.
What I keep doing is like I'll introduce like a chess piece, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep this in my back pocket
in case you want to use it for something.
Yeah, until maybe it comes up. And there has been a lot of times, like the character Imera, the Arbiter of Days. The reason she exists in this novel is because I was like just sitting there writing one night, and like Tom had to like something had to happen. So I was like, okay, there's a cloaked figure. I was like, okay, who is this person? I was like, okay, they have like this weird mask. Like it was just completely like improv. Like it like now she is literally like the side protagonist with Tom, like a little bit. And like there's a council of arbiters of like different things that stemmed off of her, the idea of her. So yeah, it's a lot of, I hope that helps some people understand a little bit more like what I might be talking about when I refer to some of the things in this book. Because I am really excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it good? Is it intelligible? I don't know.
We'll find out.
Is it interesting? I read some parts and I'm like, I think this is interesting. I'm like, I was like, even to me, this is a little, it's supposed to be weird. And just that's the idea behind it.
It's supposed to be a little hard to follow.
Yeah, it's like, I'd hate to say like Donnie Darko, but like Donnie Darko.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Darko's incoherent.
And like, when I think about, sorry, I guess I'm jumping back to my novel, like what I kind of compare it to, because like my style kind of, I'm gonna try and base my style a little bit off of kind of like the style from Escape the Furnace, which is it's a great series. I love it, and it's a very gritty series, very dark. Well, kind of dark. It's like a young adult novel, and so like it's not too dark. But kind of like what the story is kind of like. Like I compare it somewhat to I'm 4. I don't know if you've read that series, but that's kind of what I compare it to a little bit, with just like how like the story kind of is, except like in Ion number 4, he already accepted his powers and he's just an alien. But in this story, it's a
but there's like parallels, and that's what.
Yeah, there's somewhat parallels in it, where it's just like there's a organization that's trying to kill him. Anyway, back to
just like, I guess to sum up everything I just said, the basic idea, the basic like elevator pitch is that the Earth gets destroyed. Somehow Tom becomes a horologist, gets his arm cut off, and he just wakes up and he's like, he doesn't know what to do. And then somehow a bunch of people think Tom is this giant villain. Tom isn't sure if he is the giant villain everyone says he is. And Tom is also trying to figure out what is going on, because he feels him and Imera, when they meet up, they're both kind of like, something's not right in like this world. So they're trying to like figure out why these anomalies are going on, what the Forgotten Verse, what No One's Alone at the End of Time might mean, and who is this voice that Tom keeps hearing, and what is their role. I guess that's a much easier way to understand it. Like much simpler. But there's
just a very, very, very simplistic way to explain it.
Yeah. But there's a ton of stuff that like Tom is gonna age a bunch. Like this is gonna take place over a long period of time. And like it's gonna do a lot of like jumping around. There's gonna be like one linear timeline. Like there's gonna be a point A and a point B, and then there's gonna be a lot of jumping around in between that. Like not in the same way as like Pulp Fiction or like Memento kind of like jumps around, but like the thing will happen and then maybe it'll like go back to it and it'll be slightly different because like the timelines are like mixing together because time is falling apart. And so they're like trying to figure out like what is causing that, like because it keeps getting worse throughout it too. Like stuff keeps getting more jumbled as like people are like going back and forth in time, and like Tom's also trying to save the Earth at the same time. And
so basically, as the horologists or whatever, do I say that right?
The horologists, yeah.
So basically, as these guys move around in time, they're also incidentally destroying it in the same at the same time. There's just a little bit at the time.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it than that I won't get into because it's one of the biggest plot developments that I've come up with for the plot, like towards the end. Like, because there is a big thing that's going on that neither Tom nor Imera is aware of. There's actually two really big things. And it's going to come down to like a giant like decision at the end. And I'm excited to see how it turns out, and like what I'm definitely going to like show it to people along the way and see what people think about it.
Yeah, I've been looking for stuff to read, and so I'll probably go back to the stuff that you sent me.
Sure, yeah.
Because I've just been rereading books so far. I've been rereading the Ranger's Apprentice series, and so I need to find something new.
I would very much appreciate that. I'm almost to the end of like the first of like the 3 acts of like the plot that I think I'm going to do, which I'm very excited about, because at the end of this act is where like something big is going to happen, and it's going to be like set in motion, like what happens through the rest of the story. I came up with like the other day, and I was like, that's perfect, because that's the cool thing with like, I said that I was like, I introduced like a chess piece, and I'm like, I don't know what this is going to do, but like we'll see how it goes. There's been more times than there's been one time where I introduced something and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cool, and then I just completely forgot about it because it wasn't, so I just went back and deleted it. That's happened one time. The rest of the times there's a few things, because there's like I like started calling something like the Curse of the Twilight, and I started like teasing like that was gonna be something. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know if I need that and also all this stuff, so I might get rid of like that. And that's what you gotta do. You gotta like experiment. But it's really fun when you just like put something there and then you're like, oh, this actually, then you like weeks later you're like, oh, that's perfect. Like that was setting up this idea that I have now. And it wouldn't work without that. It's a cool feeling when that works.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about science fiction. You can do whatever you want.
Literally do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to dip into other mythologies, because like in folklore, is because like I can do whatever I want with this universe because it's mine. The thing about your story, it's so complex that I feel like it almost needs to be multiple books in order to like get every point across.
Yeah.
And be able to explain everything.
That would probably be best. But maybe
I'm just thinking of like, what if like you get like a 5-book series in, and at the end of the 5th book it completely resets.
Yeah, completely like
and like it starts at the beginning of the 1st book.
That would be worse. That would be most.
So many people would be mad. You just have this huge lengthy series, and then it just resets. Because I remember everything that happened. Yeah, do it again. Do it again.
Do it again. Okay.
Do it again.
Well, hopefully that was an enjoyable episode.
Yeah.
There were some audio issues.
Yes.
But I'll go through and edit that, and you won't even notice. Probably will anyway, because it happens sometimes, but we'll see. Yeah, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching. Listening, rather, because this is a podcast.
This is a podcast.
Yeah.
We don't want you to see our faces.
Yeah. If you want more like special episodes, I'm guessing, because like as we get more busy, like as the fall starts, I'm guessing it'll become harder for the 3 of us to coordinate at a time. So if you want more special episodes, we potentially could. Or if you want us to like, we could I don't know where I was going with that. If I'm being completely honest, after trying to think about my own story, my brain is fried, which is a great sign.
Like,
and that's
give us suggestions on things you might want us to do.
Yeah.
And we can take those ideas and make some special episodes, like shorter ones. Like this one's going to be, sorry, last few have been about an hour.
Yeah.
And so these episodes like this are going to probably be like 30 minutes ish. And so they're going to be shorter, but they're going to be just as good.
Oh,
they're going to be probably a lot more focused.
Yeah.
On like on much more specific topics.
Yeah.
Like themes and characters and such.
Yeah.
And so just give us suggestions and we can work with it.
Yeah, if you want to reach out to us, our social medias are in the description of every single episode. We'd really appreciate a follow on that. If you found the podcast, again, congratulations. You already are listening to this.
You made it.
But if you want more options, we are available on Anchor, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, RadioPublic, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and still Apple Podcast. Waiting on that email. They still have not told me when that's going to happen. Whatever.
Come on, Apple.
We also post this just an audio version with like a whatever background on our YouTube channel, Lettuce Rock Productions.
Yes, that is the food.
Yeah, as in the salad. No, but subscribing to Lettuce Rock Productions is probably the best way to support us with this, honestly.
Yes.
Or like following the podcast on Spotify. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And telling us what you think, like in the comments and stuff.
Yes.
We do, again, episodes go up Monday at noon, every Monday.
Periodically.
Yeah, as of right now, every Monday. So yeah, tune in next week where we will most likely have Aaron back.
Yeah, we'll have Aaron back.
We'll have Aaron.
And what should we? We'll figure out what we're going to talk about.
We'll figure. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about the projects that we want to end up doing.
Yes. Okay.
Not just our novels.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
I love you. I'm not just talking to you, Harley. I'm talking to.
Oh, I know. It's okay.
All right. We'll see you in the next episode, everybody.
Yes, we'll see you. We'll see you next week. And thank you all once again for letting us give you a piece of our minds. Outro.